I put together a list of my top 10 installation tips. Hopefully you'll enjoy this. Here's the first tip on replacing a transducer. Little tip you might do if you're replacing transducers. I put my snake on there, which is a fish tape, okay, and I pulled it back. I attach it to the wire first, and then I pull my tape back, and that way the tape was already in place to pull this new transducer wire forward. It saves so much time. So hopefully that's a little tip you can use. This next tip will help you with when you're screwing into fiberglass. One tip I can say about this putting a panel back in, since you're going into fiberglass with these stainless screws, always use a hand screwdriver, okay, a manual screwdriver. Put your screws in part way, make sure you got the threads started before you use the drill gun, okay. I use the DeWalt. I've got this thing set on a number 7 setting, so I've got a pretty good slip on it. So when I put a screw in, I basically run it in until it stops, and the clutch will engage. So you can hear that click. Okay, once it clicks 1 or 2 times, I know I'm done. If you have to screw into tight places with your fiberglass, this is the tip. Okay, you notice I got a couple of corner screws here. I ended up having to use a 90-degree power driver or drill, and then I use a regular one for the other. The difference is the 90-degree doesn't have a torque setting. The standard one has a torque on it. So basically, you don't want to, when you're driving screws into fiberglass, first you don't want to go high speed. You notice when I put that one on the 90 there, it's sometimes a little hard to control the speed. So you should really seriously slow down when you're putting screws into fiberglass, and if you start to hear it crunching, then there's a good chance you're going to strip the thing. So you got to put it in slow. When it starts to feel tight, what I would suggest is take a regular screwdriver, okay, and just go back and do the final tighten. Okay, sometimes you can, sometimes you can't, but basically hand tighten. You don't over tighten it. Over tightening it will cause it to strip, and then when it strips, you've got a couple options to repair the hole. This next tip will help you protect your units over time. What I want to emphasize really is make sure you put these 2 covers. If you're not using a plug or connector on the back of these units, make sure you cover them up. You don't want to ruin your unit and create an issue, okay? And because I pulled the sonar from this left console unit and put it to the 3100 box, I had to cover this one. Same thing over there, as I had to cover up the side imaging port as well. This tip will help you when you're replacing your batteries to keep everything organized. First thing we're going to do is remove the negative cables first. Always do that. It saves a lot of problems. The other thing, one tip is I use zip ties to help organize my cables. So what I do is, when I'm removing cables, you'll see in this situation, I'm removing a negative wire. I have a tie wrap in my hand. I have the cables in the order they came off the battery post. And then what I'm going to do is put that zip tie through the cables and then cinch it down lightly. You don't have to tighten it up, just enough to hold them together. Okay? That's one thing that will save you a lot of problems. This tip will help you if you ever have to take your bolts apart after a couple years. Prevent the galling action. So basically use Antiseize. This next tip will help you minimize breakage in your active target mount, which does happen quite a bit.
Okay. A lot of information. Let's put it in mark now.
This next tip deals with using zip ties and helps you figure out which one to use. Notice that I switched tie wrap sizes. I use smaller ones on the power cable because I'm not worried about compressing the cable too much. I use a larger one on the transducer cables. Those seem to work a lot better for me. So this is what it looks like from above. We've got basically the transducer cable is mounted to the trolling motor bracket itself. The power cables are all routed. This next tip is more of a caution. so you don't break components that get expensive. One little tip I have done with these breakers. These breakers are great. They're waterproof. They're ignition proof. But sometimes if you over tighten one of the bolts on the corner, you can actually break this thing pretty easily. And here's an example of what happens. We were trying to install it a little tight. I let the customer do it, and we just kind of snapped the whole corner off here, right? This next tip will help protect your boat from the trolling motor strap. So one of the first things I want to do is that I like to do on trolling motors, and this is something that Jason from Minn Kota showed me years and years ago at the service trailers when they still showed up with the Toyota stuff. What he did is to keep this from banging on your fiberglass. Basically this over time will bang, and also it gives you a little bit further reach. What I'm going to do is I'm going to simply put a screw here with a black cap on it. What that'll do is it'll keep it up. It doesn't go through the plastic side plates on the trolling motor, but it just makes everything a lot simpler to use. Okay, so that's one of the things I'm going to do. Okay, here's the little insert or cover or cable holder on the trolling motor. You can see all I did is once you have the cover off, then you just simply push this and snap it shut, and should be good to go. So really simple. Well, there you have it. These are my top 10 installation tips. It'll help you make a better, simpler, and stop breaking a lot of parts and give you a better installation overall. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Thank you very much.